Welcome to episode 164 of the Reptile Gumbo podcast. It's just me and Katie tonight.
Robert, don't sound so thrilled about that, man.
Yeah, Robert is feeling under the weather. He is not here. And anybody that's watching, our camera in our room has changed because we had to rearrange for. See where my hand's at there. There we go. The chameleon cage. This is our new chameleon cage. We said we were getting a new chameleon.
The camera will be shifted again by next week. So
yeah,
don't get too comfortable.
But we got our chameleon. We got Jim on Sunday in Austin. We went to the Herp show in Austin and saw the Reddies and got Jim. We had him out a second ago, but he is all over the place. So
he's super active tonight.
We're trying to build him a little perch. Goes right here in front, and then he can hopefully, possibly sit there. He probably won't sit still.
He might eventually. Tonight he's like checking everything out.
I don't have Robert here to tell me who Facebook users are.
I'll pull it up in a minute.
You want to do sponsors?
Sure. If you're looking for a high quality PVC rack, look no further than Lone Star Reptile Racks. They offer a variety of sizes for all types of snakes, geckos, rats, and more. You can even order something custom. Shipping is available, or you can plan to pick up at a Herps Reptile show near you. Visit lsreptileracks.com to reach out to Lone Star Reptile Racks and place your order today.
He's not here, so I can do it. Also, I'm trying to do 5 things at one time. Our friends over at Wiregrass Exotics. If you are in the South Alabama area, go to visit our friends at Wiregrass Exotics for all of your reptile needs. Herps shows. Ooh, I made a little tat. Wait for it.
That yo should have told you who that was.
Who is it?
It's Dax.
Oh. Bam. If anybody's watching, I'll put the dates across the bottom. The dates for the upcoming reptile shows. The Herps Reptile shows. The next one is Pearland, Texas, May 6th and 7th. That's here. That's our home show. We'll be there. Be there, be square.
Yep.
That's all of like 20 minutes away from our house.
Mm-hmm. I think that's about all it takes, as long as there's not a bunch of traffic.
Which there will be. But then after that is the Lake Charles show, June 3rd and 4th. Conroe, Texas, June 10th and 11th. Shreveport, Louisiana, which will be an interesting show. Again, that's the one that's taking place at the Longview show. That is June 24th and 25th. Then back over to Slidell, Louisiana, July 22nd and 23rd. And then all the way up to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma on July 29th and 30th. Then down to Corpus Christi, Texas, August 12th and 13th. And then Bryan, College Station, August 19th and 20th. And at that point, I'm already back at school again.
Boo. Why? I'm counting down. We've got 23 days till summer. Don't tell me when we're going back.
Yeah, not looking forward to that. But so that is Herps. We did Robert. We did Wiregrass.
We had to take our sign off the wall because I'm OCD and it was going to cover like an inch of the sign on the wall and I couldn't handle it. And my amazing husband said he'd move it.
Yes. Read nothing into us taking the sign from YouTube down. That sign is going back up.
It is. I just couldn't. It needed to be centered in the wall. So it had to come down and get relocated.
Big ass chameleon cage took up too much of the wall.
God, yes, it does. Cage is huge.
In case anybody's wondering, 4x2x2 is
it's huge.
It's a big fucking cage.
But it looks great.
It's about 4 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot. It's about how big it is.
He's loving the cage though. He moves around and checks it out. And
I guess I have found that I like him better when he's asleep. Not because he's asleep.
You like the colors better? His pajamas?
His pajamas, I guess. He's like orange and red and yellow, which I like better.
Yep.
So I just need him to be asleep more often. But also, if you want to save 15% on your VivTech purchase for LED bulbs or any of the smart devices we talked about last week with Ryan, you can use code GUMBO22, save 15% on your order for VivTech, which we have running on top of our cage up there, VivTech bulbs. So we'll see how he does with them. And that's all the sponsors.
Well, for now,
except for I'm going to bring in our guest because that's a segue into our guest. We have a new sponsor.
I got to write up a new blurb.
You do. Our new sponsor is our guest tonight, and it is Louis Batohie of Lil's Shop of Horrors. The little part gets me all the time.
Got it. How's it going, guys?
Good. How's it going?
It's going.
So, Louis, what do you do? You're our new sponsor. What do you do?
So we breed rats and mice. Mice are coming online here shortly, and dubia roaches. We also do Madagascar hissing cockroaches and a few different isopod species.
Gross.
As well. Yeah,
I actually found a picture of our daughter. She was like 4 because someone took her to a bug day event and someone bought her Madagascar hissing cockroaches and then called me and said, "Hey, your daughter is so excited about what she just got," and then put her on the phone to tell me how happy she was about her cockroaches. To which I responded, "Why don't you put your daddy back on the phone?" Needless to say, they've never been allowed to go anywhere that has live animals without me again. But I have a picture of 4-year-old Joe with a giant hissing cockroach in her hand, and she's like giving a program in front of a bunch of kids about them.
You know what's funny is the native roaches we have. I will squeal like a little child.
James and Joe will call me to kill it.
Yeah, I don't do roaches.
That I call my wife.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I do. Come on in here and take care of this. But
we rearranged an entire room one night because there was one that got in the house after a bad rainstorm. We couldn't find it to kill it. Neither one of us wanted to go to bed. So I'm like, all right, well, then you have to help me rearrange furniture so we can find it. And we ended up like moving furniture to be able to find it. And because I wasn't going to sleep without a body.
Well, so here's something to scare you even more about them is so I guess it was a couple of years ago, I was out herping out west and walking a cut, and all of a sudden, boom, something hits me in the ear. And it was a moth. A moth wedged itself in my ear, and as soon as it did that, the world just started spinning. I started puking. Called my buddy down. He came running down, like, "Dude, bug in my ear. Can you get it out?" Couldn't get it out. Long story short, ended up in a hospital in Del Rio. Just by the way, that's a waiting room for a real hospital because they're not going to do anything for you there. So end up going home, going to sleep, going to San Antonio the next day to go get it taken care of. But what I learned out of that was moths, uncommon, roaches. Every doctor I spoke to, I'm pulling roaches out of people's ears all the time. Never have I ever pulled a moth out.
Fuck no.
So that's what I learned out of that situation.
Did you know that moths can also fly into your eyeball and wedge themselves behind your eyeball?
What? Where did
because when my brother played Little League baseball, he was playing first base and the pitcher suddenly whacked himself in the face with his glove and hit the mound. No one knew what was going off. My dad was coach. This was before my dad passed away.
I figured that
18 years ago. And
dad was coaching with the Ouija board.
Stop. So the kids were like 7 or 8. He comes out to the field, to the mound, and all Chase is doing is screaming, "It's in my eye, it's in my eye, it's in my eye." We have no clue what's happening. So my dad just does what he thinks it will help and grabs water bottles and just starts pouring water into this kid's eye. And all of a sudden, this moth the size of a 50-cent piece comes flying out of his eye.
That's fucking horrible.
And Chase just starts crying, this poor kid. And he was like, "I'm okay. It's gone." Ended up pitching the rest of the game, mind you. But yeah, that was probably the most terrifying. I've never been so happy to wear glasses before until that day. Because I was like, I have a covering. Things can't just randomly fly into my eyeballs.
Oh,
yeah.
That's scary as hell.
So
Can always be worse, huh?
God.
See, my problem was just so I lived in a townhouse at one point, so they're connected to other houses. So whatever happens in one townhouse, you're at the wheel of the other townhouses. And I'm sitting there watching TV one night, and this big ass. Well, I feel something hit my shoulder, and without thinking, I slap at it, and just roach goo all over my shoulder at that point.
I can't.
And I swore I could smell it for days. I can't do it. But if it's like hissing cockroaches or dubias, it took me a while. A friend of mine talked me into dubias, and I was like, "Oh, well, they can't climb. They fall over on their backs. They can't flip over. They're pretty stupid. I can do these things."
Yeah, no, and I have no problem with them. I have mistakenly seen one, jump out, not realize what it was, and then see it running through the house when I kept him at the house and freak out. And it's like, oh, it's one of the dubia, catch him stood up in the middle of the house just staring at the cats, So
when I was keeping mine, every now and then I swear every now I'd have a male born with an extra like set of wings. They were weird shaped and they were longer, and these could fly a little bit, like
flutter. I feel like flutter is a better word to describe
they weren't taking
it.
off, but they could definitely go from a
like
high
hover.
area and go go a distance. Those got
Yeah.
fed out pretty quick every time those popped up.
Yeah, I've never had a female running around my house when I kept them here, but I would find males occasionally. And they definitely do jump and glide like what you're describing.
Yeah.
We found a female once. We were coming home next to our doorbell outside on the brick wall.
A dubia?
Yeah, I remember that. It was the house with we're on the highway there. Yeah, I remember finding it on the side of the wall. I'm like, how the fuck did a dubia get here?
It's a guard dubia.
Yeah.
It's really multi-purpose, you know.
So you do rodents. We talked a little bit at the show this weekend about rodents, but we'll talk about it again. You're starting mice, and my problem's always been with mice is that they smell horrible. Are you looking forward to that?
You know, so I don't. We have a facility that we keep all of our rodents and feeder insects at.
Look at you being fancy and not just still in a spare bedroom.
Well, I did that for many years. You know, it was my snake room was full of roaches for a very long time, and yeah, so I'm not too worried about it, and I don't mind cleaning rodents. That's something that I'd rather be doing that every day. I can deal with that. So
I mean, somebody's got to do it. I'm glad it's not me.
I can't do it. I kept a few rats in college.
It was my least favorite thing we've ever had. I would rather have the cockroaches every day than have rats or mice that are alive.
I kept a few rats in college, and they'd breed, and I'd take the babies once they were like
out of me.
like
I can't.
puppies. But yeah, once so I had someone gave me Someone gave me like 2 females, and I was like, oh, I can find a male easy at PetSmart. So I went to PetSmart and bought a male. And I was like, all right, I'll try this for a little while. And the day that male died, I was like, all right, I'm done breeding rats, and I fed off the females. And that was the last time I tried breeding rodents. And I was.
He's tried to talk our daughter into it several times. He's like, you know, we could sell these, and you could make money, and you could keep the money. And she's like, man, it's
she's not
work.
buying it. Yeah, I need her to breed mice for me. That's all I need for my Sambos. She can just breed me mice, but she's not buying it. So, but everyone's like, you should breed your own rodents. It's cheaper. I was like, I get it, but I'm expensive. Myself, my time is expensive. I can't afford me. So I can't breed rodents. I'd much rather just buy them frozen and then go to my freezer.
And that's fine. We'll take care of that for you.
There you go.
We'll do all that part. We like that part over here.
So how many breeding female rats do you have? Like, do you have an idea of the number of female breeding rats you have right now in your facility?
Probably close to 500-600.
Jesus
right
Christ. That's a shit ton of rats.
Kind of makes my heart palpitate a little bit.
That's just the breeding females. So you probably would have half of that in male, or probably a quarter of that in males.
So the way I keep my rats is I keep them paired up all the time. So I'm gonna keep them in like standard kind of concrete bin, and I keep my males with my females. There's definitely pros and cons to doing in like a vat style where you have multiple females in there to one male, and you kind of cycle them in and out. Especially for like concentrating your breeding and trying to bring out the best in your females through selective breeding. But with all the rats that we have, just with working a full-time job on top of it, I just don't have time to go through and pick out pregnant females like that. So I keep them all housed together. So we have quite a few males as well.
That's a lot of rats. I did get some from you this weekend. I have not fed them out yet, but I was very impressed with, and we talked about this before we got on here, the mediums are actually mediums. I know a lot of people have had rodent people they've were like a medium before, and they get it and it's a small rat. And you're like, well, and then I've gotten before, I've gone to feed and I've thawed out some small rats and I've thawed out medium rats, but I'll put them like in the same bag to thaw out. And then I've gotten up there and I've poured them out and I've realized I can't tell the difference between the small and the mediums. And I have no idea which one was which. I know I paid more for one of them, but I have no idea which one is which. So I was happy to see that the smalls look like smalls and the mediums look like mediums.
Yeah, and that's one thing we definitely strive for is just being as consistent in sizing as possible. That if you come, you get a medium for us. And, the standards right now for weights on rodents, that's what we're going with is just kind of the standard big box store kind of weights. But
yeah,
I think as time goes on and as more customers kind of air their grievances with the standard sizes they're getting, I think we're really going to kind of hone it down and have multiple sizes there, because I've definitely heard more people really interested in that aspect, so be able to pick in between and again be consistent.
Yes. Well, I want to get more into I'm sorry, I hit your knee.
I'm okay.
I want to get more into how you do your rodents in a second, but I did post a question today. It says, "What is the number one thing you look for in feeder source for your reptiles?" And because it goes along with what we're talking about here, so I'll go through a few of these. Our friend Erica McVeigh over at Vivtech said, "If we're talking about rodents, clean fur, good muscling, lack of abscesses or obvious infection, and ethical care." I've never had the issue, but I have heard of folks getting like, tumor-ridden rats, which is not which it's not always horrible. I mean, a lot of rats do get tumors, and it happens, and I mean they can eat them. It's not like you're gonna catch tumors from tumors. It's not the flu, but I mean, if you're ordering something and paying good money, you don't want
you want it to be healthy.
Yeah, you don't want the leftover tumor-ridden rats that they're just trying to get rid of.
Damn, that's kind of
Yeah, it happens.
I've never even thought about that. You can tell which side of the hobby I hang out on. It's not the side that's feeding.
Our friend Lee Reddy from the Reddy's Rainforest said consistent sizing, which we talked about, well fed and clean, which we will get into how you feed your rodents in a minute.
We talked about that at the show a little this weekend.
Yeah, and so I want to talk about that. Leo said, I feel like all of that is number one when looking at the feeder source. And Lee's big on the feeding part. We've talked to Lee because of the chameleon.
Mm-hmm.
He really is big on feeding your feeders.
Yes.
Especially with insects, because he's doing chameleons. A lot of people, and we've been guilty of this, but we've gotten better at it in recent time. But we've gone
in the last 2 days.
We've gone to PetSmart.
No, we've gotten a lot better in the last 6 months, even.
And gotten like crickets, and then come home and then feed out crickets.
Right.
And those crickets haven't really eaten anything and really have nothing inside of them. So, we've gotten better at that. Our friend Victor said consistency is what you feed your feeders is key. Consistency and what you feed your feeders is key to a good source of healthy feeders. Again, we'll get to that. Scott Wright said a good sense of humor. I've never asked my rodent person if they had a good sense of humor. But maybe I should. Maybe I should add that to my list.
Maybe you didn't understand the question.
I think they do.
Or is it a joke? And
it's probably a joke.
The joke.
It just jumped over your head. You're good.
Yeah, it's okay.
Adriana Frey said for rodents, mainly that they appear clean and healthy, well fed, no open wounds and abscesses. Man, people are really getting some fucked up rats out there. I don't. If anybody in our chat that's listening live, if you've gotten any abscess-ridden, open wounded rodents.
Well, the Facebook user that says that the tumors are just extra meat is John Grant.
John Grant will feed whatever I'm not gonna say John Grant's cheap, but that's just because that sounds mean. But I'm thinking it. I'm just not saying it. Lonnie said the number one most important thing for me is that they are healthy. Laura said healthy appearing animals, clean, well packed and frozen, solid when they arrive. Yeah, I've got a few mice in my freezer right now that are like a head, a body.
Oh yeah.
Like, I can't fucking feed that out. I can't feed a headless mouse to a snake. That's not going to go well. And when he thawed out, it's just going to get.
That's going to be messy.
So yeah, that does bother me. Aaron King said that this is for tortoises, that the weeds he collects for his tortoises have not been sprayed with weed killer. And Jack, I know how to pronounce his name because he told us Jack, even though it's spelled with an S. Said I breed my own rodents so I know what they eat and that they're healthy and they've got good living conditions.
Yeah, Lee Reddy said that what they did with their rodents was they would feed them leafy greens and vegetables in the mornings and then feed them off in the afternoons.
Okay. Anyways, so let's get into what you feed your rodents, because that was one thing. You're not just.
I just got that all wrong.
Yeah.
They feed the crickets and things, leafy greens and vegetables in the mornings, and then feed them off in the afternoon. But they also did it with their rodents when they bred ASFs and rats.
Yes.
There we go.
There you go.
James made me go to the gym, and my brain is not completely working, and I think my arms are going to fall off my body. So I apologize.
So Lewis, what do you feed? Because you're not just feeding just like a bag of Missouri chow and that's it and walking away.
Yeah. And so, we're constantly tweaking our diet and looking at how to improve it. And especially as we're getting, more papers come out and we can read more about wild rodent diets and stuff like that, trying to mimic that a little bit more. Try to get a kind of closer diet to maybe what they're going to be running into in the wild, where, with the standard diets that you're getting a very basic lab formula that's, intended to be consistent. And while we do feed a consistent diet, we also mix in a lot of insects to our feed. We're going to be doing, we have moved away from doing from doing vegetables. And just the reason for that is to the point about cleanliness. When we do that, sometimes the rats are going to get the runs, and they'll end up pooping on their babies, and it just leads to problems. So we've kind of end up having to remove that as much as we'd like to do it. It just doesn't seem to keep it clean. But we feed a mix of it's going to be just 3 commercial diets mixed together, different feeds that you can get. And with that, we're feeding a high protein diet for our rodents. And then we're also going to be adding a multivitamin powder on top of their feed. And that's consistent. And then couple times a week, we're going to do coconut oil and molasses mixed into their feed, just to really get more kind of energy for the females running through, because we do run them pretty hard, and to keep them, good lactation, and then good fat on the animals we're raising up.
Yeah, that's a far more rounded diet than what I eat. That's
maybe most of our animals at our house eat better than you do.
That's 100% true.
Like my dinner consisted of cantaloupe tonight. Like
that's not your dinner. I'm gonna make you dinner when we're done.
I'm just saying
that was your pre-podcast snack.
You would not have eaten cantaloupe.
I did not eat cantaloupe. So Hardin County Herb said the decapitated mouse in your bag is probably shipping damage. It may be. That is why I like getting. Why can I not think of it when they're frozen and they're packed and they're. Shit.
That makes sense.
My brain is shut down.
They also said the dry ice gets them so frozen that they can actually physically break.
Why can I think of when you vacuum sealed? Jesus Christ, my brain is shut down. I like getting vacuum sealed rodents. They tend to look better, and you don't tend to get as a whole clump frozen together. You may get 2 frozen together, but that's fine. They'll usually break apart. Pinkies though are one of the worst ones, and I know it's hard with pinkies because there's no hair and they're a pain, but God, a bag of pinkies is a pain in the ass.
John Grant said your Louisiana pine will eat that head, no issues.
I'm sure. I'm not looking forward to the goo that comes out of the head or the body because the rest of it's not there. That's why we had a monitor. If we had monitor lizards, they could eat that stuff.
Are you talking about like when they go to strike at it and they squeeze? Or are you talking about when you thaw it out?
Both.
Oh, okay.
When you thaw it out, goo is going to come out of it.
Oh, we don't have cats.
Yeah, I don't have cats.
James hates cats
because cats suck.
James probably hates cats more than he hates ball pythons.
Oh, I 100% hate cats more than ball pythons. Ball pythons are at least a snake. I hate cats. Hate cats. Did I mention I hate cats?
Yes.
I don't know if I mentioned I hate cats.
Oh, good.
I'll be more specific. I hate
feral
outdoor cats. Not even feral. Outdoor cats. Even the ones that the person goes, it's my pet. It's not your fucking pet once you put it outside. It's not. Especially if you're the one that feeds like 40 cats and you can't hold or touch any of them. Those aren't pets. Stop that. You're a crazy cat person.
So Reddy's Rainforest said that it sounds like you've got a great gut load for your rodents and offering beneficial things to the rodents that really help them. So in turn, it's going to benefit the animal eating it as well.
And that's exactly, there's multiple kind of things that kind of led me to doing this, besides just wanting to run our own business, and the effort we put in is what we get out. So I breed Great Banded King Snakes, and over the years of me doing those, it's pretty kind of standard, and especially from talking with buddies, that you're going to get kinked animals. And while this is going to be very anecdotal, my experiences, I went through this a couple years in a row here and started doing, supplementing their prey items more with just like a powder on the outside. And, seeing the offspring come out of that had just dramatically changed the structure of the babies coming out, where coming out substantially more robust, the biggest eggs I've gotten out of my girls, no kinking at all. And I really think the major factor in that is going to be the nutrition of the meal that they're getting.
That's really awesome that you've seen a difference in feeding specific snakes better fed rodents, and in turn you're seeing an improvement in the snake itself.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt this.
Please don't put it on the screen.
Oh no, it's going on the screen. Elle in our chat shared a picture over on our Facebook page of a tumor-ridden rodent, and because I have to look at it, the rest of y'all have to look at it. If I remember how to put it on here. Oh God,
it's gonna be big on the screen.
Oh, it's gonna be big on the screen. It's gonna be. How do I wait? There we go. There we go. Everyone, take a look at that.
God.
If you are watching, feel free to look at it.
I would not feel comfortable feeding that out.
Oh God, it is. It's like I don't even know what to compare it to. It's horrible. It's just horrible. Go check it out. It's on the question we posted on our
Go
Facebook
check it
page.
out. It's horrible.
Well, everybody else needs to vomit a little bit in their mouth too.
John Grant.
What did John Grant say?
He said yummy.
Yeah, that's. Oh God, I could not imagine getting that. I'd be very upset if that came in a bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the person that shared that is my wife.
Oh.
So the Lil and Lil Shop of Hearts. Yeah, that's crazy. I couldn't imagine packaging that up and
and like actually sending it out.
Oh, I could totally imagine someone sending it out though.
But how does that happen, right? To me, that must be an employee, right? Like that can't be the person that's producing that animal that started that.
But
business
you
that
don't
goes,
want an
"Here you go."
employee. You don't want an employee that works for you to send that out. Like that's attached to your business.
I mean, of course you don't, but if that's
Fair
the
point.
owner doing that, that's
full
wild.
screen of it.
Why?
So everybody
Why,
else can see it.
James?
It is just horrible. I could see someone, one of those money grab type people who don't care. They're just like they got into it real quick to make money, and then that probably won't.
I'm only looking at you because I don't want to look at the screen, and there's nowhere else in the room to look right now.
You don't want to look at that?
No.
Imagine that like in a deep fryer.
Oh my God.
That's what it looks like. It looks like somebody has deep fried. They battered it and deep fried it.
Yummy. Just imagine if you go to like KFC and
I'm
get a
gonna
box chicken,
throat punch you in 2 seconds.
and that
Take
came
it
in your
off
box
the
chicken.
screen.
Okay.
Don't you ruin fried chicken for me.
It's fine.
I know,
God,
wow. Yeah, I know. When she showed me that picture, I also had your same reaction. I did not want to look at it. That was pretty crazy. And so that's the other factors. My current what I do for a living is the medical field, and so going through and just kind of keeping a high quality in what we're doing is just a part of what I've been doing for a long time now, just not away from the pet section of it. And just seeing stuff like that, right? It just gives you nightmares, seeing what someone's willing to package up and send out. We're going through our stuff with a fine tooth comb. If it has a little poop on the fur, it's not getting packaged up. That's going in the reject bin.
See, and I don't know. I guess because James is very particular if snakes are being shipped out or if he's selling them at a show or if anything is leaving with our name on it, whether it's his personal hobby business, whether it's Reptile Gumbo podcast, he's very particular about how the public views us.
Yeah.
And I guess because we've been together for 18 years, like that blows my mind that somebody would have put that in a package.
In this hobby, the one thing you have in this hobby, whether you are a rodent breeder or a reptile breeder, is your name. And it's very hard to build your name up, but it is very easy to ruin it and quickly. That's true. Unless you're someone who's been in the hobby for 35, 40 years and you have a big enough name, and then you can do whatever the fuck you want and you still sell shit. I'm not gonna throw out any names.
Don't get bitter. You sound bitter.
But there are some retic people that are like that. Anyways,
there's quite a few.
So what made you get into this? Like what made you decide I'm gonna breed and sell rodents and dubias and things like that?
Yeah, so to do it on anything I do, I can never just kind of do it for fun. Anything that I ever get into, it's just like,
I know people like that.
How can I completely overwhelm myself with this and just make this a constant focus? I guess I'm running from stuff. I don't know. But, with taking care of these rats and starting that, it really started with the thing that I was like, okay, I'm going to have to do this myself was I was having a conversation with Tim Gebhardt from Vivid Reptiles. And we were talking about feeders and going through and nutrition and just, talking with him. that guy is such a wealth of knowledge, and the way he looks at a situation and how to handle it is so unique. And so getting to really sit down and have conversations with him over time and talk about what he was doing really kind of made me decide to really commit to doing this. And then when I do it, I got to really commit to everything I do. So start off with a 500 square foot building, and then up to, 1,000 square foot building now, and just started like that.
So I don't know if he's listening or not right now, but a wise man once told me that if it's worth doing, it's worth doing extra. So
My dad.
yes.
Yeah. He's one extra person. But I'm like that too. Like, I'm one of those, like, if I find a hobby, I'm like, hey, I have a hobby. This hobby can make money. And then I'm like, how can I make money with this hobby? And then, yeah, it's.
See, and mine are like, oh, you have a hobby? Let's suck every spare change you have into this hobby. But you're not going to want to do it enough to make money off of it.
Yeah,
because then it's not a hobby for me anymore, and it's not fun anymore. I don't want to do it for other people. I want to do it for me.
Money's lots of fun.
And that's the main reason I don't sell reptiles is kind of that sentiment is I don't ever want to be in a situation where I have to sell a snake. I started off working at a pet shop. I did that for years. And, you have the person come in that you try to educate everybody that comes in and get them on board with what you're doing and the proper way to do it. But sometimes you have the person that comes in and they're just not on board with that, but they got their money and, you got bills to pay. Right. So you sell that animal and, having the disconnect of being, again, an employee in that situation, I think helped it. But the idea of me doing that myself and then I just not something I've ever wanted to do.
That's why I like it as a hobby. I breed as a hobby and sell snakes because
if it sells, it sells. And if it doesn't, it can come back home.
Yeah, I can live with it not going. I can live with it staying with me for 2 or 3 years if I need to until I find the right home for it. Whereas, I've got friends who, and it's not a knock against them, but they've got to sell stuff because they got to live. And again, most of my friends that I have that do have to do that still do it responsibly. They don't, they don't sell shit to everybody. Yeah. There are some that definitely don't do it right, but I like not having that stress. If I go to a show and I don't sell anything, I look at the show as it was just a fun trip for me. And yeah, it cost me whatever it was to be there. And if I make anything, it's a bonus. So it makes it more fun for me. There's no stress there for me.
Yes. And of course, actually, absolutely no shade on anybody by any means that makes their living through selling reptiles. We're totally behind that. But just for me personally, not what I wanted to do. And so I breed feeders instead because, I've been a part of this community for forever. I've always been kind of the outside guy and, not many people know my name, but I've been around for a while doing this and, that's how I like it.
Well, the great thing about feeders, we talk about at shows, the people that make the most money are feeders and like dry goods. It's not the animal people because animals still need dry goods and they still need feeders. Even if you're not buying more animals, you still need feeders. Mm-hmm. And so that's the way to go. That's the smart thing. Just most of us are not smart enough to do it. Or
and the thing too is that I think, it's so funny, right? Getting back to the gut loading and insects, we know that to be a thing and everybody does it and that's what you should do. But it seems like with rodents, we just don't think about it at all. And we go, well, the snake's happy and, it breeds and it eats, right? Which we've all heard, right? And I think over time, I got to spend a lot of time early on over in Europe. And one of the things I liked doing was going around to the different pet shops and just nerding out at the different things they had around there. And it was a completely different way of keeping, 10 years ago already compared to what we're doing now. And kind of walking through and seeing and going, I think that the American model of reptile keeping is going to go this way. And over time, seeing it happen.
That's cool.
Where, so it's not about quantity, it's about quality.
Yeah.
And I like that. So let's do that with our feeders. How do we get that into people's houses like that?
The one problem I've found with feeders, it's crazy how, and I get it, it's a business, it has to be that way in certain situations, but it's crazy how expensive they've gotten in the last 20 years. But I mean, it's everything. It's just, man, what I can get for $400. I made a big order a while back for $400, and it was like, man, I could have gotten the same stuff for way less before, and it gets painful. But it's just, but people will now you'll pay for quality. The problem is people hate paying that much and then getting a headless mouse, and you're like, awesome, I wasted, $1.
Yeah. And well, and your dollar counts, right? That is money that you've earned and you worked hard for that. And so many, and this is, again, not about any feeder person in particular or anything. This is just all customer service in general right now. It seems like you're owed this, and you should be lucky to be able to go into that store, and it's not about the customer anymore. And in pets, and that the customer can definitely be wrong. That's not something we abide by, that the customer is always right.
Oh yeah, I've worked retail. The customer is not always right.
No, not at all. And and it's animals' lives that we're talking about when we just kowtow down to that and go, yeah, that's the way it is. But here we're really trying to provide good customer service on top of a high quality road.
I think that's awesome that you're truly focusing on quality over quantity.
You're still on the Reddy's.
I am. It sounded good.
The Reddy's typed it, and you're like, I'm still there.
Sorry, Brittany Deason says I'm the brains and the pretty face. Take that, bitch. I love you. I still want dinner tonight.
I can mute your microphone.
I completely regret that statement. I retract it because I want you to cook me dinner tonight.
That was powerful.
I got ahead of myself.
It wasn't until you realized consequences. Everything has consequences.
His sandwiches are so much better than mine. I just want him to cook tonight.
So one thing that I have always found weird with pricing on stuff, and I blame ball python people for this, is small rats. I've seen so many places where the small rat price.
Oh, you've told me about this before.
It's more than like a medium rat, because the demand for small rats, because of ball python people, is so much higher, and that just blows my mind every time that happens. But I mean, I get it; they're buying shit tons of them, and they got to buy them, so charge more. But
I get that.
I'm like, fuck them. Every now and then I need small rats, and then I can't get small rats because they're sold out or they cost like $1 more.
I know you fuss a lot because they're sold out. So
fucking small rats.
Yeah, and I that's capitalism, right?
Now we know, guys.
But we. So far, we do not have that problem. We always have small rats, awesome. Quite a few. And that's the thing. Price goes up, but the quality's gone down over time.
So you don't ship yet, right? Are you ever going to plan on shipping?
We definitely do plan on shipping, getting that figured out. The problem is that, to me, I don't want to come to people and go, yeah, here's your road, and it's $80 in shipping. That's going to turn away a lot of people. Now, all of this that I'm saying with the quality of our rodents and everything, we're comparable to most of the big rodent breeders you're going to find online that you'll be able to get through. So we're gonna be competing with those prices. But right now, our shipping's, if I was just to do it right now, it is going to be substantially higher, and I don't want to do that to people. I think at some point we'll offer it, even if it's not exactly where I want it to be at that time, for the people that do want to get the quality that we're offering and willing to pay a little bit more for shipping. But just trying to get that cost down. It's hard to compete with someone shipping out thousands of packages.
Yeah, and it's tricky because a lot of them now are like, if you get this much, you get free shipping, and you're like, not everybody can do that. Yeah, it's tricky that way. See if I can get to, why is it not? What in the world?
I have no idea what you're doing, so I can't.
I'm trying to put their price list up there for rodent. I was putting it up there because I liked the bottom part where it says pet.
No, I like that.
And then it was $10. I enjoyed that one.
I mean,
that reminds me of when I used to get rabbits that were like show rabbits that had slight issues that would sell for like $40, and I would get them for free because it had an ear that was misshapen or something. So, but pet rats, I don't know. I always see people with pet rats, and then like, I get it, they're cool pets, but my food for me.
My late sister-in-law always had rats.
She did.
Well,
Queso. She had a white rat named Queso. She always named them after food.
But I was just trying to go ahead.
I was saying, if it wasn't for a rat, that was my first pet that got my mom into this pet shop that I ended up volunteering at. and ended up being the thing that opened up this whole world to me. Was a hairless rat that I used to carry around in a fanny pack, and I would take him everywhere with me.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Just little ball sacks.
There you go. That was his batteries, is what I used to call him as a kid.
There's so much worse when they have no hair and giant nuts.
Well, they just feel like a nut sack already. You know?
I know, and then it's just. Then you get to the back and they just hang.
The ones that have like the little bit of face, the little bit of hair on their face, those freak me out.
Like the guinea pigs,
like
that have
the hairless guinea pigs
that have the landing
just
strip right there on the nose.
Bit of hair on their face.
Weird. Darren asked, "Have you ever lost or had to euthanize rats due to disease or sickness? If so, roughly how many animals lost?"
We've not had any experiences with that. So far, what we've done is the animals that we brought in. It's 2 lines of rodents, and once those came in, we just completely stopped bringing any other rodents. So it's a close collection. We're definitely always keeping an eye out for something, but haven't had any issues yet.
Yeah, that's normally the issue I've heard with we talked about this before with rodent companies, that there have been several that have lost entire collections when they're like, I'm going to bring in new blood. And as great as that idea sounds in your head, it really fucks up in reality when they come in and one is sick and you lose everything because of it.
Yes. Yeah. And you know, and just as time's gone on, right, seeing the testing that's coming out as the hobby's evolved and science has moved forward, you know, we're starting to pick up different pathogens and reptiles, and what we're seeing that, you know, might have been present from the beginning, and we just haven't seen them. But when you throw, you know, animals in from all different spots, stuff's gonna change.
Yeah.
Okay. So the really nerdy side of me wants to know, have you written any data down on the positive changes that your rat snakes have had?
That your rat snake?
Not rat snake. Yeah, you said you have rat snakes, right?
I keep Transpicuous rat snakes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But because those are the ones that you've noticed positive changes in since you've been feeding them feeders that have been on a better diet. Have you like documented any of this? Is there like, now I'm like, I want to do a study.
Well, I'm sad to say I have not, other than just anecdotal, just seeing, you know, those babies come out and just seeing the differences, and that just the robustness.
That's so cool. Like, I feel like somebody out there, this is a study for you. You're looking for something to write about. You're looking for something to study. This would be cool.
Well, if you are, let me know. We'll provide rodents.
With all that free time I have in my life.
Well, and that's, you know, it's funny, right? You start to look up, you know, snake nutrition and rodent diets, and you can find some stuff. And that's, you know, that's how I started this, was we started looking at, well, what do snakes need in their diet? And then okay, well, what are rats eating in the wild? Okay. And then that's how we pieced our diet together to come up with what we have now. So, you know, we're attempting to do that with using, you know, different research papers, but there's a lack of information there and a lack of study in that. And so, you know, as time goes on and as, you know, hopefully revenue grows and we're able to, you know, funding our own studies to see what's going on and getting to test our own rodents, you know, in set lots that, hey, you know, this lot of rodents, this is what you're getting. You know, I think is something that we would like to offer, you know, as a standard thing, where it's not just,
I think that's cool.
Here's a rat.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think it's cool that you feed insects to them, so they get protein. They're not just getting you know, a formed block of food.
Yeah. Yeah. And we also feed a soy-free diet for what it's worth, for people that want to stay away from that. Yeah, you know, you look at those standard rodent diets, and it's optimized for the rodent, and you know, just like any other company, right? They're trying to cut costs and make the cheapest quality food they can. And you know, obviously you can breed rodents and keep reptiles alive, feeding rodent block, no issue. But can we do better? You know?
Well, and with feeding, we the only thing we tend to normally think of is underfeeding or overfeeding of snakes. But again, we don't tend to think of quality feeding of snakes because we don't think of it. Again, there's not enough information out there on how much better is it for this snake to do that. Especially it goes species to species. You know, certain snakes, you know, a boa, the way they digest food is completely different than the way a rat snake's gonna digest food.
Right. And a rat is not a rat is not a rat. You know, but that's something that it doesn't it's not very much high on the list of things that we're concerned with, I guess, in the hobby.
But it's moving
Although
that way.
it definitely should move that way. I agree.
Yeah, and that's definitely something, you know, going out and getting to see these snakes in the wild and seeing what their body shape looks like compared to, you know, when you're just going through and scrolling and looking at most of the snakes that are getting, you know, pictures uploaded of them. They're usually pretty thick, you know, and when you're picking up a snake in the wild, not that you can't find a real chunk every once in a while, usually it's not that way. You know, it's going to be an athletic looking animal.
Well, that's what's in your rodent is important because our snakes are not acting the way they are in the wild. They don't, you know, it doesn't matter how big of a cage you give it, it's still not moving the same distance and having to do the same stuff it's doing in the wild. It's not having to outrun predators. It's not having to do all that stuff. So yeah, you're not going to there's that muscle tone to a wild snake.
So I read an article today that box turtles only live within a 1 mile radius of their entire life.
Yeah, but that problem is that's traveled around for a while. And then people were like, you removed it from where it lives. If you put it back in the wild somewhere else, it'll die, which is not true.
Well, I knew that.
Because they're still box turtles and they're almost bulletproof. But they do live
I guess they got short legs, so it makes sense. But
they have a territory.
Okay.
Indigo snakes are the ones that are impressive. They have a huge territory. But that's another one, feeder-wise, I think will be very interesting to study because they digest food very quickly. They're a very active snake. Well, they'll eat fucking anything. But that would be an interesting one to see how well they do on a better prepared diet than just cheap rodents. But I don't know. There's way more to be seen with that. But I do like the idea of paying way more attention to what goes into it. Again, there's so much stuff out there for gut loading crickets and gut loading roaches. We don't think about gut loading mice and rats, and we've been doing that for forever. You know, feeding those out for forever. So
things that make you think.
Yeah, make you go. So I want to get to the other question we had this week, and this is the one I got from you. It says, "Have you ever had to convince a partner or parent to let you get a reptile? What was the animal? How did you do it?"
So that's an excellent question. How did I wear you down to get Jim?
The Reddies. It was Lee and Amanda.
I feel like Amanda is to blame here.
Definitely Lee and Amanda's fault that we got the chameleon.
Because when I read this question, I knew you had not come up with it. But in my head, all I could think of was, I finally have my chameleon.
Fucking Lee and Amanda. The problem is being friends with breeders of stuff. That's the problem. I got to quit being friends with breeders of stuff.
Because everybody likes me, so they want to see me happy.
You keep telling yourself.
I have a Mexican black king snake that says otherwise.
You need to clean that cage.
I will. Okay. I'll clean it tonight while you cook.
Ashley Howdy said over at Focus Q, said iguanas with her parents. She said she waited a year reading books and proving she could care for them by herself, and got 2 for her birthday in the mid-90s after still being interested. And then ball pythons with her husband Steven in 2016 and 17. He said no snakes, and then she bought one at the herp show. So, yeah, iguana. She kills me with liking iguanas, especially iguanas in the 90s. I had an iguana in the 90s. It did not go well. There were so many mistreated. That's the other thing. So another problem I have right now with iguanas is that water dragons are now CITES. So less people are going to be able to get water dragons, which means they're going to go back to buying iguanas again. I'm not looking forward to that. Have you ever owned an iguana, Lewis?
I haven't, but I kept iguanas when I worked at a pet shop, and
and they're horrible.
It wasn't my favorite thing. But I gotta say, a big, mature male green iguana, that's a pretty slick looking animal.
If he's not trying to kill you.
Well, I didn't say I would own one, so I like looking at them.
All right, when I worked at the zoo, we had several males, and they all sucked. All of them. We had one female. She was amazing. We could use her for education programs, take her out, hold her. She was great. The males, you could not get near. They would whip you the tail. The claws were horrible. And I know someone's listening going, I had a male and it was great. I get it. Look, there's exceptions to stuff. There's people out there with nice tokay geckos, but I'm not going to say everyone should own a tokay gecko. Right? So I get it. There's exceptions, but iguanas historically have
Like, I'm
sucked.
sure Lewis has nice rats. It still doesn't mean that I'm gonna like them.
That is true.
You might like my rats. You don't know. We got to get you a rat. We'll see.
It's the tails. It's the tails.
No
I can't.
mammals, because it makes it harder to leave town.
It really does. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm gonna do with the guinea pig for 2 weeks during the summer.
Damn class pets. Our friend Callie Grant, our new Texas resident, Callie Grant.
That's right.
Our friends John and Callie Grant have just got a house in Texas. They're moving to Texas from Oklahoma, so they've seen the light, and they're coming closer. I say that as if I'm from Texas. I'm not from any state. I just don't want to go to Oklahoma.
Yeah, but now that they're only 2 hours away, I have a feeling you're going to be wanting to travel more so you can visit.
Yeah, you're right. I do want to visit Callie.
On Saturdays.
On Saturdays, we're friends. We are friends. I'm not friends with her on Sundays. Anyways, Callie said, well, I asked my parents if I could use my money to purchase a reptile during middle/high school, and she never got an answer. They always put it off. So I went and purchased my own in full setup, and all I needed for my very first leopard gecko. I brought it home, set it up, and like a week later, my mom noticed it and asked about it, and then was upset, and I had to convince them that I could keep it. She says she just lost Zeus, her 15-year-old leopard gecko, originally from PetSmart, due to a tumor a month ago.
Oh, wow.
That sucks. That's rough. I've lost animals I've had for a long time. It does suck when that happens. Danielle said yes, wanted a second gecko. Parents said no for years, but then it's a very long story. That's a huge bummer, but my mom wanted to get Petty and use a baby name, long story, and then said I could get a gecko if I named it that.
So she just wanted something in the house with that name on it.
That's fucking weird. I mean,
Well,
I guess she won.
We don't know the long story.
I know she won. I'm not reading my dad's. I'm skipping that one.
Why? Because he had to beg you to let him get a snake?
No, he did not. My dad said I had to beg my son to let me get a snake. He's a big turd and hates all reptiles.
No.
Which none of that's true. Sean Gray says easier to ask for forgiveness rather than permission.
That is a horrible outlook on life.
I disagree.
Horrible outlook on life.
Katie says that, but we have a fucking dog.
We do. But it wasn't for me.
It doesn't matter. It's in the house.
We're not going to get into this tonight.
Yeah, bigger snake is what I need so I can feed the dog to it.
I mean, I just did that to my wife with our dog we just got. So
I got one for our daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And the dog worships her.
Does it still shit and piss in my house?
It does.
Yeah.
But that's not the dog's fault. It's our daughter's
Does my dog shit and piss in the house?
Your dog?
My dog.
Whatever.
She's my dog when she's being good. When she's a pain in the ass.
Like she's mine when she's ready to go to bed at night. Is that it?
Yeah. Brian Lovis said, my wife had a large fear of snakes when I got back into the hobby and started getting snakes. I would come home, set the snake on the window ledge outside, go to the reptile room, open the window, set up the snake. It took her months to find out I had any snakes, and only because I told her eventually.
No.
Now she's comfortable enough to hold baby snakes.
Brian.
I love that one.
No.
I love that he stuck them in through the window and then kept them for a while and then finally told her.
That's, oh my gosh.
I could get snakes right now and you'd have no idea.
Oh, 100%. 100%. You could bring those
I've
in.
never bought a snake without telling you first.
No.
But I could.
We have that trust, babe.
I could. Jason Miller said my first boa when I was a teen. I spent a lot of time at the library. For those listening, a library is a place with books. And for those also listening, books are like the internet, but they're on paper. I just know some people aren't used to books and libraries anymore, but they still exist.
I go to the library once a week.
That's because you're old. So as a teen, he said he spent a lot of time at the library beforehand to strengthen his argument and why he needed one. I love that it was needed. Not that he wanted one, but he needed that boa.
Well, yeah, he did.
Needed it. Our friend Megan Slap-a-Bitch. I haven't mispronounced her name in forever, so it's just fun to do. You want to pronounce her name?
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Once upon a time I could, but it's been a hot minute since I've seen her, so I don't remember. She's been traveling for work. It's been busy.
She said her husband isn't too much of an animal person, and I have basically a small zoo in her house. She does. I didn't really ask him about getting my first reptile. I just did it and told him it was happening. His main concern, though, usually comes down to cost. He's an accountant, so everything comes down to money. Keeping reptiles is expensive, and I'm in the double digits with snakes now, which gets expensive. While he'd be perfectly happy if we didn't have any animals, he understands that snakes are my passion, and as long as I can care for them properly and it doesn't hurt our finances, he's fine with me bringing home more. Yeah, it's a more expensive animal. We talk about it first. He'll never understand why I'm so drawn to snakes, but but having an open, honest conversation about it is why it always been the best strategy for them. Yes, I agree. Our buddy Victor said his wife, he had to convince her to let him get a snake, let alone the 30 that he now has.
James is going to have to work pretty hard on that crocodile or the alligator you want.
Alligator, I'm getting an alligator or something.
Not until I have a pool, and the pool is not going to be used
Bullshit.
for the alligator.
If we have a pool, then we need an
No.
alligator. They
That's
go
like
together.
Those two
No.
things go together.
Yeah,
Like, how are
they're
you going to
perfect.
do one and not the other?
Because
That's
I
like-
want a swimming pool. I don't want an
Swim with the alligator.
exhibit.
Just go fast.
No.
It's a workout.
No, he already almost killed me at the gym today.
What you do is you just teach it to get out of the pool.
Like
then-
I can't pick my arms up off this table. That's why I'm sitting like this for those of you watching.
Tomorrow will be worse.
I know.
Joe Smith says first reptile was a ball python. I'm sorry. That he got when he was 14. He had to convince his mom. I had to convince my mom I was responsible enough. She already knew I was an animal person and she didn't like snakes. Had it until I left for the army 4 years later. I've gotten animals that from military people, but the snake.
My favorites are when they come back from deployment and they're able to get their animal back though. That bearded dragon we had that one time. That was awesome.
Yeah, the snake I got was because they found it in his base housing and he had to get rid of it.
Oh yeah, that one.
Because he had a 6-foot boa in base
That's
housing.
happened too.
Oh, Sean McCarthy said my first reptile was an armadillo lizard back in the early 80s, then a basilisk. Really wanted a boa, but that was a no-go. But not to worry, I made up for it 40 years later. Way to go, Sean.
That's funny.
Robin Williamson said, nope, never asked. What they don't know about they can't complain about. And I saw Lil's Shop of Horrors commented, better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Again,
I had vegetables in your food for that purpose.
I'm
'Cause
gonna,
if you don't know about them, you can't complain about
I'm
them.
gonna stop eating then. You're gonna feel bad when I starve to death.
You already don't eat good.
Don't eat well.
Whatever.
English teacher.
You know what I'm talking about.
You're an
You
English
need
teacher.
to eat better.
You're an English teacher. Well, anyways, Scott Borden said my first and second ones were ball python and boa. It was a bribe to do better in school, and they would get me one. Eventually, I had my own money and car, and things spiraled. Yeah. Lewis, have you ever had to convince? Well, there was a.
Well, say your wife has kind of
So-
told on herself.
Said Lewis will tell you I've smuggled a few rats into the house as pets. Asked for forgiveness because permission would have gotten me a hard no.
Yeah.
But are the rats still there as pets?
They're here, and I gotta say, some of them I absolutely adore. Go in that room when she has them out, and they come running towards me. And it's like, man, if you only knew the genocide I'm running against all of your brethren. But you're happy to see me. I'm happy to see you, little dude.
Oh,
that's
Just come home and shower first before you hold them, so you don't smell like a pile of dead rats.
There you go.
Why does
Go
he
let him-
smell like rats?
He smells like us, just off.
like
a
when you
little
come
bit.
home and your dog can smell another dog on you. It's like, I know where you've been.
Yeah. No, but that it's funny. All this time and effort into going like, you know what, need to get a facility and never do rodents in the house. Like, not going to happen. And get that all set up just to end up with a room with rats in it. It's but again, they are very sweet, and I do like rats. Like I said, if it wasn't for a rat starting off, I wouldn't have anything right now. Wouldn't even know this world existed.
We shared an article, I think it was last week. It may have been 2 weeks ago.
About the bomb rats?
About the rats
The
that
mine rats?
sniff out bombs.
Yeah,
It's about mine.
pouched rats.
Yeah. Those
I-
things are huge.
So my parents really never told me no. It was kind of, I could always get whatever I wanted to a fault. And that was one that back in the day, I was like, I want that, but you can't import them in the United States. And I tried when I was a little kid trying to figure out how to get them in here, but you can't do it.
They are enormous.
Yeah.
You know what you should get is an agouti. An agouti kind of like a rat. It always reminds me of Splinter from Ninja Turtles.
They look slimy.
It looks slimy.
Well, like I guess they look oily because of their hair.
They're cool looking.
Meh.
It's like a rat. It doesn't have a tail.
I disagree.
Well, I went the other route with that when I was a kid, and I ended up keeping a possum for a while.
Yikes.
That was that was a cool pet, man.
Was it a short tail or was it like a regular?
Oh no, just no possum, like our native possums.
There you go.
And he was cool.
I've never had weird mammals.
We bottle fed and rehabbed some.
We bottle fed and lost one.
Well, yeah.
Died.
Well, we have had successes as well.
Because that's when they didn't tell me until afterwards. Oh yeah, a lot of them die. I was like,
Oh yeah, he
thanks
was
a lot.
devastated.
Let me get attached to it, then it dies.
Yeah, it was rough.
Ugh, that was the only possum I've ever taken care of. I'm done. I don't do possums again after that. Fucking possum died on me.
He's a big softy. If you haven't figured it out by now,
I've always wanted a daegu. Daegu.
he has.
Cool. It's like a giant gerbil.
Again, it's got to take.
Again, rodents just poops and pee so much.
My guinea pig's litter trained.
Kinda.
As long as I change the litter box out.
Poops to the side of it sometimes.
No, only now that only happens if I don't clean her litter box out or the kid forgets whoever isn't responsible for that.
Oh, okay.
Do you litter train any of your mice or is it just like a free for all? Rats, just kidding.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say my wife has potty trained the rats that we have, so they do go in a litter box inside their cages, and yeah, when
but those are the ones at home, right?
Yes.
Those aren't
litter training food.
Well, I don't know. That's why I'm asking this question.
I only buy dead rodents that shit in a box. That's all I buy.
These are trained rats. They jump into the.
Charge more. I don't know.
If these rats were just shitting all over the place, I don't want them.
That'd be soul crushing for myself after a while. I bond with every one of these little rats, and then I kill them.
Oh man, I've trained them how to poop in a box. Now you die.
Oh jeez.
The cycle is complete.
Yeah, just name them all.
Too far.
Let's see. I didn't have to convince my parents. So my first snake was a rainbow boa in 2003 because we went to an expo and we were there for like 3 or 4 hours, and then my parents were like, "Yep, we can get a rainbow boa." We didn't know shit about it. It somehow survived to be 17 years old, even though we fucked up a lot of stuff in the first 5 years. But it made it. But I didn't have to convince. They were just like, "Yeah, we'll get it."
I've had to convince you to buy stuff before. Speckled king snake.
That's because I don't want to spend money.
I pretty much walked up to him and said, "Hey, either you pick out the one you want or I'm going to." And I handed Jim Sargent the money.
Well, I promise I don't like spending money. So I don't mind spending snake money on snakes. Like if I sell snakes and then I can spend that money on snakes, I'm cool. I don't like spending house money on snakes because I feel bad.
And I like spending house money on snakes because we have one bank account. So the house money is where my money is too.
The only ones I had to convince you for are the 2 big boas that I have currently, because that was a big purchase.
I don't really
and it wasn't overly
remember.
I kind of told you we needed them. Oh,
I feel like it was a conversation had when I was half asleep.
Well, you agreed to it and we bought them.
And that's why I agreed to it when we bought them.
And they're horrible.
Oh, I know. But they're not in my closet anymore, so it doesn't matter.
But every time I walk past them down the snake room, it's just whap right against the cage. So it's just a 6.5 foot snake that it seems to be a theme. A lot of my animals don't like me.
Maybe you should rethink.
I haven't done anything to them. I feed them. I clean their shit up when they shit. They don't like me. I don't get it. My dad said our rainbow lived because of our superior enclosure building that we did. Oh my God.
That was something.
That was an experience, building your own cage. I don't build my own shit anymore. I'm not doing it. Never again. We built so many cages. And don't get me wrong.
Speaking of cages and racks, I'm sorry, I totally just cut you off completely and I did not mean to. I'm sorry.
Bitch.
I'm sorry. I deserve that.
You yelled it earlier. I'll figure out get back.
I deserve that. Lewis, do you have stuff like, did you build everything for yours or did you get it from somebody or?
For the rats, so I'm building all their racks. I did just purchase a Freedom Breeder mouse rack. I just didn't want to deal with the detailedness of the small tubs there. But yeah, for the most part, I've been building everything.
That's cool. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, James.
So the one nightmare with rodent racks is when they flood. How often have you had that happen?
It's probably... sometimes stuff floods, right? And it doesn't kill everything. But probably
floods.
So on your rodent racks, they're gravity fed water. You have little nipples attached to hoses, attached to a bucket, and they're gravity. Most of them are gravity fed water.
Okay.
The problem is it's if something gets chewed on or something gets worn out, the vacuum that holds that water in that place is gone, and it will just dump whatever is in the bucket.
Oh,
and then you show up to mouse or rat soup.
Yeah, that's rough. Because the water doesn't have anywhere to go, and it just fills up the tub. Yeah, gotcha.
And it can get gross.
It's not
Especially if you-
fun.
Yeah, especially if you don't catch it
Oh, that's
early.
rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not something that I have happened too much. Usually, when I first set up a tub or a rack, let it sit for a day or so, see if we have any leaks, and then go. But as stuff's sucking on the nozzles and stuff, they'll push it up. Sometimes, kind of what happens. The times I've had it, what I've had happen is the clip pop up,
Yeah.
getting stuck on the wire there, and then so it's just dumping for that reason. But the occasional drip in there that needs to be addressed. Probably once a week, one tub.
Your wife said she doesn't have to convince you to get reptiles, but her first reptile was a tokay that she knew nothing about, and you did, and you did not warn her. And so she had to learn the hard way about tokays.
That's rough.
And that tokay is friendly now, which is very impressive. She can reach in there and grab it out and pop it on her shoulder and walk around. And a tokay is a really badass lizard if
Yeah.
you can get them
I was
calm.
like,
They're
if you get them calm,
cool.
they suck when they're not calm.
Yeah.
But they're a cool guy. I mean, they're cool. Like, they look neat. They're big. But man, that bite
The
sucks.
eyes do it for me.
They're blue.
Yeah.
Like, you can get them. They're
They're
blue and
cool.
red. And like, they're cool looking. It's like Spider-Man, but a tokay gecko.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'll pass on them though. What are you staring at, the chameleon? Is it
I was
amazing?
looking to see if he had moved around at all.
No, he's not. He's not going to be entertaining. He's just sitting,
Still checking it all out.
still sitting still there.
He's only been in there for like 36 hours, 48 hours, something like that.
I will say one thing I've noticed. We bought a Miss King Mister for him.
Sorry, I'm on a one-track mind with my
We
chameleon.
bought a Miss King Mister for him, but we also hooked it up to the Emerald Skinks that we have in our room as well. And the Emerald Skinks would always hide, but since they've been hooked up to the Mister, I mean, we pump sprayed them like once or twice a day. But since we hooked them to the Mister, they come out way more now. I don't know. It's weird. They just must like the Mister, or I don't.
Maybe it's the other cage.
I don't know. Maybe
Who knows?
like they're sitting out in the open right now. And they never do that. They still don't like me. And if Brittany Reed ever hears this, she's the one that gave them to me. I hate her because all of her Emerald Tree Skinks like her, and they come out and they walk on her hand and they run around and,
And
she
she
feed them by
said this
hand.
weekend that every time that happens, she goes, "Ha ha, James," in her head.
She sent me a picture of like a baby just eating out of her hand. No, these run away from me. I've tried to be so nice to. I haven't reached in and grabbed them. I haven't forced myself upon them. I have not.
Good.
I have not molested these lizards in any way,
James.
and yet they don't appreciate me.
I mean, they appreciate you. They know you.
I'm trying to think about one reptile in this house that fucking likes me. My pine snake. My pine snake
Your
is
pine snake does like you.
it's the one snake that likes me.
It's all right, babe.
That's it. It's the one snake. I
The
spent.
tortoises like you.
No, they tolerate me. My tortoises back home like me. Say back home. We're home here, but back in Louisiana, they like me. Kinda.
I think they tolerate you more than
may
me
tolerate
do.
Must like give off a good vibe to reptiles. If I really like reptiles, I
Bad
can't.
day.
I'm just waiting for you to come back. Once you go back, they're going to be over the moon. They're going
That's
to
what
run
it is.
up, wagging their tails, going crazy.
Millie does that every day when you come home.
Yeah, but she's a dog. They're supposed to.
It doesn't matter where he is in the house. The second he comes into the kitchen, which is right outside of our bedroom, or opens the bedroom door, she won't move, but her tail starts wagging like 90 to nothing. And I always know who's in the kitchen because she only wags her tail if James is the one in the kitchen.
Yeah, no, my snakes don't do that for me.
So she's ratting you out.
She loves you.
So reptile wise, talk about rodents. Reptile wise, what do you keep?
So I keep gray banded king snake, trans-pecos rat snakes, few odds and ends. I keep Deppy, and then it's gonna be a Durango mountain pine snake.
Now I gotta look it up.
And there's a-
Durango Mountain. Oh, it's like a Mexican pine almost.
Yeah, exactly what they are. And then I keep I have the vivid line, the summer and winter phases, which are pretty cool.
That's pretty. We had a Mexican pine snake at the zoo we worked at. That's neat because they have all the reds and everything on them. I've never been a fan of northern pines, which is like super common in the hobby, just because they're just black and white. I'm like, whatever. I love my Louisiana pines, but Mexican pines, if I was gonna get another one, it'd probably be something like that. Those are cool looking.
I've enjoyed them a lot more than the just the Pitulophyceae. Just not those, or just just the pooping was something else, man. So far, these Deppy don't seem to be so bad. It's a little bit more controlled.
Hardin County Herps asked, do you keep locality alterna?
All my alterna are locality.
That's another reason. That's why I can't get into like rosy boas. I like rosy boas, and I own generic Mexican rosy boas. I can't do it. My head just can't handle locality, especially locality when it comes to gray bands. That stuff just is crazy to me.
Well, it's funny. You talk to some of these old school, herpers that were out there in the beginning of time, right? When it was 3 different species, we thought, and all this, and you talk to those guys and they go, locality is just a way to sell ugly snakes. And, when I first started hearing that, I was like, what? Like, all right. And then as time's gone on, I kind of understood what they're saying there, that the way we look at locality, I think just, again, this is my opinion, and I think many people differed in that. But why do we keep locality, right? Is it to keep the genetics of that animal separate from others, or is it to keep the look separate? And I think that's kind of, that's something I'm curious about, is why other people keep locality. In the beginning, for me, it was like, oh, I want to protect these genetics. But as you learn, there's very little difference, so there's really no value in keeping it locality like that, I feel.
With them, it always gives me, because it's like, it came from this side of the road next to this rock. And I'm like, yeah, but the one on the other side of the road next to the cactus isn't different. But to them, it's a different locality. I'm like, they're pretty close. I'm pretty sure they can fuck if they wanted to. Like I don't know. It's weird. And I get it. They look different in certain areas, but man, they're such a variable species in general. I don't know. But again, if it's your thing for locality, it's cool. I just could never do it. Like I said, I love rosy boas, but I can't get into it. Hardin County Herb said he got a Sanderson from Chris Painshad and said he's beautiful, so I just make sure I only get that locality when I get more.
Yeah, probably a nice looking Blair's phase animal. And that's the thing, I think a lot of the kind of locality comes from people that aren't getting to go out there and looking and seeing, what they're pulling. Because you can pull, a real dog off River Road and, just be a ugly, muddled, Blair's phase animal. And you can pull a similar looking animal from, Sanders. Now there's going to be a vast difference in kind of the way those animals look, but just to give an idea there.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time what we're seeing with locality animals is we're seeing selective line breeding from the breeders that are doing that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we're looking at someone's individual,
their idea of what that is.
Yes. That from whatever animal they started with, they saw something they liked and they brought it out and said, this is what it is to me. But, especially with like seeing Trans-Pecos rat snakes and people talk about locality with those, that those animals are moving around a lot, so when you see and how anybody decides to label their collection or breed their animals, that's up to them, and I have no problem with that, and that's fine. And I would still pair locality animals, but I think when we're talking about suboc or something like that, we can talk about an animal in a 20-mile range of each other, and that's locality, and you could go even further and I wouldn't feel bad about it. I would clarify, but
well, it's just always so interesting in snakes, especially what we consider locality. So like we had Bill Stiegel on not that long ago, and he does green trees, but there's some people in the green tree community who are like locality green tree pythons, and then Bill's like, no, I just breed whatever looks pretty, and he breeds really cool looking stuff. But there's so many species where we don't look at them as locality. If someone gets I guess like Brazilian rainbow boa, it's not really a locale. It's a Brazilian rainbow, its own thing. But there's no like it came from this part of wherever. Like it's
just this.
It's just this. Yeah. It's just that. It's just, so again, I agree that a lot of it comes down to who's breeding what, and if they keep breeding it for years, it's going to look one way. So I don't know. It's it's just the whole thing. A lot of it is just I don't know.
I think a more
Interesting to me.
truthful way to, or not truthful, but a more accurate way to describe it would be, this is my, for example, river road line, and not necessarily like, yeah, it's still starting off with the founding animals coming from that area, but it's your line and your envisionment of what you saw the potential of that animal to be, or what you saw come out, as you bred it.
Well, it seems like it could be hard to resell some of these, especially if you're not a big name in that community, right? But like you collected the original parents from this one spot and the babies came from there. If those babies don't come out looking the way the general public expects that locale to look, I imagine it'll be hard to convince them, even though they came from there. These snakes look this way from there. They just may not look the way so-and-so has bred that species for the last 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the alternative community is a little bit, I would say it's on average a little bit older kind of keeper. And, people are locked in their ways. And yeah, if you don't have a name, if they don't know who you are, I've had people pull up and go, who are you? Never heard of you. If you did that, I would know who you were, and that's just the way it is, and that's fine,
That's one variable snake that I always find interesting are Decay's brown snakes. Cause like when we lived in Louisiana, we could find them in our front yard, find them in our backyard, and they'd look nothing alike.
Yeah.
They're so variable when you look at those little Decay's brown snakes, because some will have a lot of pattern. This almost
The one that
checkerboard
looked like a
pattern.
garage was like red.
Yeah. And some will be like a solid red color, solid brown color, some will have stripes. So just variable species like that I always find very interesting, because what is there is no norm for certain things like that.
Yeah. And you can definitely get some things leaning more ways than others, so like with Trans-Pecos rad snakes, Del Rio, Sanderson, kind of Marathon, all those areas, you're generally going to see a kind of more toned back animal, more kind of a lighter base color and a crisper black, but not as much color variation. But then getting out to like Terlingua, Alpine area, River Road, you're going to see usually a brighter animal with a little bit more contrast going on. But you can see either in either location, and just you're going to see on average more looking that way.
So have you bred them, or are you just collecting?
I've done some pairings. My Subok, I've not put much effort into them. There's lucky enough to find an Xanthic male a couple of years ago out on River Road. So trying to do some locality pairings with him, make some hets and just make locality Xanthic Trans-Pecos rad snakes, and bred quite a few Alterna at this point.
What else do you have besides those guys? Because I want to say I heard you on another podcast where you talked about having anacondas.
Yeah, I keep green anacondas as well. It's so funny. I always feel like I'll be sat here and I'll go, oh, I keep Trans-Pecos rad snakes and Alterna, and I feel like there's some class to those. And then I go, oh, and I keep anacondas. And it's just kind of like a weird mix.
See, as a boa person, the anacondas do more for me than
I was going to
bluebirds.
say, the fact that you have anacondas, I'm like, that's freaking huge. Like the rat snakes don't get super huge. So I don't know. I and it's funny because I was terrified of snakes when we started dating. And then I got over that fear. But there's something to be said about the giant snakes.
Well, green anacondas are just one of the prettiest
gorgeous
snakes on earth. It's just their care. Not a lot of people can properly take care of a green anaconda. A lot of people, well, no, you can't. A lot of people can't get them anymore because they're not imported and cheap as hell. But a lot of people just can't take care of them properly. I mean, I get it's a big snake, but it's a big snake that is not the same as a Burmese python or a retic.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Well, that was the whole reason I got them. What was it? I don't even know how many years ago now. Was when I was a kid, we used to get emperor scorpions for $5, if that. And now you go look at an emperor scorpion.
They're like 50, $60.
I've seen them 150. And it's
really?
Like, holy crap, And or the giant millipedes.
Millipedes, yeah.
Those used to be, we would feed those to savanna monitors, right? It wasn't that expensive of an animal. And now, again, you're talking about seen them for $100.
Or fire belly toads.
Yeah.
Fire belly toads are another one. You can't. The only way you can get them now is if people are breeding them.
That was a $5.99 frog.
Yeah.
But so seeing these animals disappear over time and the different prices in them, as soon as I heard about that ban going on back in the day, I was like, I'm gonna pick one of those up. And my first anaconda I ever got, I was too young, shouldn't have had it, and it was $100 animal I picked up at a show, and it didn't do well.
They're so small in a deli cup.
Yeah. I mean, I went in. I told my mom before I went to the show, I'm either going to get a reticulated python today or a green anaconda. And I walked out with a green anaconda because that's what was there. And, so after that, kind of was like, okay, I want to be successful at keeping these now. So got to go back and try as an adult. And it's been fun. It's awesome. It's not something I recommend as a pet, which is part of the reason why I haven't put much effort in trying to reproduce them. Was they seem to be a little bit more unpredictable than a lot of the other stuff.
How was the temperament on that first one you got?
The first one I got, man, that snake, if we're talking about the absolute first one, never was doing good. When I got it, it was a skinny, scrawny animal imported. I'm sure it came right off the boat into the deli cup at the show. Yeah. So, it was pretty lethargic. Bad start with that one. The ones I've got since then were more active. As babies, they were fine. I'm not very active with holding my animals. I'm more of kind of just I like to look at them. Then every once in a while I realize like, oh, I can hold this thing and play with it. It's mine. It's kind of like I'm at the zoo all the time looking at my stuff. So that was definitely, I would recommend holding your big snakes a lot when they're smaller.
Me too, because I can't hold any of my large boas. Although most of my large boas I have right now,
we got when they were large.
I got as adults.
Yeah.
So I'm currently growing up smaller stuff that I probably should hold more because they're definitely striky. The only snake, the only snake I've ever gotten bit by on purpose was a green anaconda. I think I've told it before on the show, but I would volunteer at a pet store at our town where our college was. It was a very small town in Troy, Alabama, and the woman that owned the pet store was a moron. But I would help her out with the reptiles. And then it's one of those pet stores where like they would get the animal list and just order whatever was on it. And so one day, it was after the second Anacondas movie came out. She saw a green anaconda on there, and she's like, "Oh, I ordered a green anaconda." And I was like, "Son of a!" I was like, "If I don't need a green anaconda in this town, no one else needs a green anaconda in this town." So I was like, "She goes, when it comes in, will you come in and take it out of the bag for me and get it set up?" I was like, "Sure, I'll do that." And so, just knowing the situation that it was probably not going to be happy and that the temperament's probably bad, I reached in and pulled it out. Unfortunately, it was already like, I don't know, 3.5 foot long, 4 foot long. But it went to chewing on my wrist, and it got me good. Blood was pouring down, and it didn't feel great, but I did ham it up some. I may have cussed and screamed, and blood's pouring down my wrist, and she's yelling to put it back in the bag, and put it back in the bag, and she sent it back away. And no one in that town got that green anaconda, because no one needed it.
Maybe it's just a kid at the pet shop kind of thing that we end up being the ones that have to tame down the baby berms that came in. Or my old boss's favorite thing was anytime he had a customer in there and he bred rainbow boas, and he would be showing him babies. And he's like, this is a beautiful animal, but what you got to see is you got to see the parents. You got to see what those look like. And so he kept the breeding pair in the back. And so I would get sent off to go get the big female out of the back. And she would just light me up the whole damn time. And I mean, full grown.
And those teeth are massive in Brazilian rainbows.
And I would come out dumping blood. The more blood, the better. Right. And, that was his good time. Still hang out with him today.
That's so funny.
I luckily never got bit by my male. My female, I don't really handle that much because I'd raised my male up from a baby and I trusted him. The female I got as an adult, and I've handled her before, and she's fine. But as she's gotten older and had a few litters, she's not as
mellow as she once was.
I don't know, I've had some boas that were like great, and then after they have babies, they're like, "Yeah, I'm not happy anymore," and now you just can't hold them. Just the weirdest thing.
You did that to them, James.
I know, they're pissed off. You're the reason I did. Hardin County Herb said I set up a tank for fire bellies 2 years ago. Then he found out they were $25 plus, and now and not $6, so the tank is still empty. Yeah, they're not cheap. Fire bellies are not cheap anymore. That's why you don't see them, in PetSmart anymore. They're not cheap enough for them to sell at PetSmart.
And I think it's a good thing, over time, seeing these prices go up on these things. I think we all heard the term, pocket pet when we were back in the day, right? And it's, you don't hear that now, So as much as it sucks that keeps some people out that might not be able to get it as a little kid starting off or whatever, I think there's overall value in that.
Well, I mean, iguanas would be an example. In the 90s, iguanas were cheap. And they probably still are fairly cheap, actually. I don't know what the price of an iguana is currently, but so many people got iguanas. I mean, I was one of them. So many people got iguanas that should not have gotten iguanas because they were cheap. Put in a 20-gallon tank, which I can't believe we did. We put a iguana in a 20-gallon tank, and I'm thinking now, that would never fucking fly now. But we did it because 20-gallon tank with a green carpet and a heat rock, because that's what they told us to do.
It's all he needs.
Yeah, that's it. And big old water bowl, and you're good. Feed it. They would sell these frozen blocks of veggies you just bought and thaw it out, this goo of veggies that you'd feed them. And God, it was so horrible back then.
But the thing is, they are, back to the point earlier about green iguanas, they are pretty cool looking. And I don't think I appreciated them as much when I was younger, and getting to see a big adult. That's an impressive looking animal that, why don't we appreciate them like that? You know?
Well, I think what's a shame is, there are so many other iguana species that are now starting to somewhat show up in the pet trade that are such better pets. If somebody wants a large vegetarian lizard, there's so many more now that people are starting to breed other than the green iguana. But the green iguana was cheap. And so many people, and again, like I said, I think with the water dragons being harder to find, green iguana popularity is going to go back up, unfortunately, because I think water dragons are a better pet for someone to get into than a green iguana.
I don't ever remember selling a lot of water dragons. We always had them. Yeah. But, people would come in and they would just look at the price tag and just go green iguana. Yep. That or Nile monitors, right?
God, Savannah monitors.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think I bought a Savannah monitor once for $20. And it was like a foot long, but it was definitely an import. $20. I'm like, that's a horrible price to put on a Savannah monitor. I do like some certain prices going up. Like I like that Brazilian rainbow boas are no longer $125. Because God, they were $125 for forever. Doomer's boas were $125 for forever.
Yeah.
I do think those things should cost a little more.
Yeah, well, even some of like the North American clueberts, another thing I keep is Baird's rat snakes.
Yeah.
And that, that is one of the prettiest North American snakes I think there is. That is such a cool looking animal. But when they're babies, they don't look cool. It looks like a corn snake. It looks like a Texas rat snake. Not that cool. And
you're looking at Baird's right.
I am. Don't you judge me.
They're blue.
Yeah, you gotta type in vivid Baird's rat snake.
Those are neat looking.
Yeah, I blame Justin over on Herpeticulture for them being so popular now.
And I'm glad he did it. It's a cool looking thing, because we would get him in, at the pet shop and just trying to tell people like, this is a cool looking snake. I promise you.
We don't really push a lot of the cool looking North American snakes, because we live here and we're like, yeah, whatever. But we kind of ignore them. Like, how many people actually realize that there's a green rat snake in North America? Like, very few people, I think, understand that there is one. Now, I've heard they're trickier to keep, but
those are cool.
Like, we'll order Asian rat snakes that are green. We have our own.
Yeah.
Or the Baird's rat, which again is a cool looking snake that I think most people don't realize we have. Or to me, rubber boas. I think rubber boas are freaking awesome. And no one really does rubber boas.
Rubber boas are cool. Very cool.
I love my rubber boas. So
it's a North American boa. Pretty badass.
Yeah. I mean, and it's everybody always goes, it's a worm. I was like, but it's a really cool worm. Like this thing, you can freeze this thing. And then it will still be fine. And then you can warm it back up to room temperature and it will eat. And it's so hardy. And we're like, no, let's go ahead and get these ball pythons from Africa. I'm like, but we have cool stuff here. I don't like ball pythons.
And the coolest thing is, you look at ball pythons and you see all the mutations that have come out of that, right? That's possible with any reptile. We're looking at just how much focus is going into that breeding of that animal.
Yep.
And it's pretty damn cool to see what those guys, even corn snakes now. When I was younger, it was, the big thing was a snow corn snake. And now you look at some of this stuff where you're like, well, that's a neon sign I'm looking at right there. That is amazing.
I own a pink one. Like, and it's hard for me. Like, the problem with pink and red snakes is, and if you ever try to take a picture of them, it never shows right. And so it's hard for me to explain to people, like, it's fucking Barbie doll pink. Like, when you look at it, it's pink. Like, it's hard to understand that it's that pink, because I show them a picture and go, it looks gray. I was like, I get it. It looks gray in the picture. But I promise you, this thing is like Pepto-Bismol in your hand.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think that would happen.
Even some of the ones I've seen at the show, when you're just trying to look at them, like this weekend when we came and saw you guys looking at them, I don't even know if my eyes are focusing right. It's such a vibrant color where you're like, wow, that's amazing.
Well, and I think there's corn snakes are starting to get the problem with corn snakes as beginner pets is babies. They're great at like a year old. If corn snakes started at year old size, I think they'd be so much bigger in the hobby right now. But it's that fucking baby size of a corn snake for the general public is so small, and they're so good at getting out of stuff. But I think corn snakes would do as well as ball pythons if they were bigger. The problem is that they don't have the price tag to draw in a certain clientele that just want expensive snakes. So there is that. But I think there's a lot of cool stuff you can do in corn snakes than you can do in ball pythons.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, man, there's so much value in focusing in, the kids you see walking around the snake show, right? And taking the time to talk to that person. Yeah. And really, as a young child walking through a pet show like that, or snake show, it was ignored the whole time, right? Till money came out of my pocket, and then they're paying attention to, what I have to say, but then just, whatever, here you go. Yeah, here's your lizard, or whatever it was at the time. And that's the future of the hobby here. And the more people we can get on board when we're getting attacked from every angle, and it's not going to stop, it's just going to keep going. We need as many people as we can get in this that are educated and passionate about this.
It's funny that you say they didn't pay attention to you until you had money out of your pocket. That is the entire reason that we have that pink corn snake at our house.
Yeah, Russell's fault. My daughter,
because she was 9.
She went over and looked at one snake, and Russell goes, "If you talk your dad into getting this one also."
No. Before that, she went over and she found one. She found it's a corn snake. Found one she liked. Came back, talked to me about it, talked to her daddy about it. I said, well, you need to go find out how much it is. You have your own money. Da, 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 da. James had already said we had places we could keep it here in the rack. So she went over and I went with her, and Russell did not talk to me. I made it. I said, she's got questions. He goes, okay. And he immediately focused on her and all of her questions. And I mean, I didn't care what we walked away with from his table at that point. I knew we were walking away with something.
Yeah. The problem was he was like, I'll give you this snake and that snake if you can talk your dad into buy both of them for this price. It was too good of a price. I was like, well, shit, now I'm buying a corn snake that I ain't planning on getting.
There should be like a method, and like it should be defined, like where that's like the boy band selling method, where it's like, what a great idea to get an army of little girls to attack their dad's wallet books, and you don't have to really do anything because they can say something crazy. You got to sit there and tiptoe through it and be polite and try to talk this other grown man into giving you money. Yeah. Get his own little girl to go do it. It's a great idea.
I'm good at telling my daughter no, but the problem was he offered me something I wanted for a better deal, and I was like, yeah. God damn it, now I have to buy both.
That's the trick. The trick is to make James realize it's something he really wants, and then it's a lot easier to convince him.
But it is a cool looking corn snake.
She's beautiful.
Podcast, and that is a terrible combo. Where it's the worst thing. You start talking to someone, and you hear them talking about whatever they're into.
That's why we have a chameleon.
Yeah, and that's the cool part, is you get to hear people talk about these things and their passion in it, and it's contagious, and that's been the best part about starting a feeder business, is that we get to supply those people that are going out and doing that, and I only want to see those people succeed. I want them to see them do as good as they can with their business, and I'm not concerned with the snake they're selling because I'm not selling snakes. I'm not selling lizards. I'm selling the dubia you need for your lizard. I'm selling that stuff. So to get there and cheer these guys on and see them do good, like Seth from Huff's Herbs, you know, getting to see him grow and see what he does, you know, that's cool getting to talk to that guy and getting to know him and seeing his business grow. I love it. I'm so glad that we can support those people.
Well, then like what he's done with his kids also getting involved in breeding has been fun to watch too. I love Seth. So I want to go over some of each week we go over some of the stuff that's over on our Facebook group discussion page. So I'm going to go through a few things on there real quick. And so Nathan shared a picture of a bunch of Samboas from the Reptile Report, which is funny enough because I was like, I know that picture. That's from my friend Pamela, who I have snakes from her, but her snakes got shared on the Reptile Report. I'm still waiting for something of mine. Well, I'll tell you, like, I have had something shared on the Reptile Report. I had a meme shared, and then it got stolen, and I got no credit for it. So,
oh, I remember that.
You know, there is
Sorry,
that.
it was not that funny. It was, but it was not for you.
I just wanted credit. That's all I wanted. Nathan posted a picture of a little caiman covered in butterflies, and it says how the croc feels when Steve Irwin calls them a beauty. So that was funny. Anything Steve Irwin, I'm all for. I haven't watched this one. It's a baby sea turtle. Did you watch this?
Oh, it's precious. So it's all about helping baby sea turtles. And so you make a little path because obviously you can't touch it and pick it up.
You can't.
No, they need to use the muscles to get to the water.
So you're saying you shouldn't pick up.
No,
You could totally pick up.
because it's very tempting to pick them up and carry them. You should not do it.
You just fight off
and
the raccoons and birds.
It's funny though, because in the comments, I was like, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. And I'm like, if it can't get to the water, do we really want those genes, you know, the weak passing on? I mean, not that I totally wouldn't be the one digging the thing out. And Nathan was like, oh, you'd be crying the whole time. I'm like, you know me so well.
Yes, you would.
So as long as we understand here.
So Nathan also posted it was a article or a paper said potential neural consequences for snakes under captive management. And in the comments, Charlie McKee said, long story short, your snake needs more than one hide, a water bowl, on paper towel substrate, in a shoebox, or its brain no work right. That is probably true. It's definitely true.
I didn't read the article, I'll be honest.
It would definitely be true for things like the more active snakes. Nathan posted another turtle thing. Did you see this one?
That's beautiful. It's just footage of a
leatherback
coming up.
I want to see a leatherback in person. They're massive. A full-grown leatherback is huge. Oh, did you see this one? Someone posted on Morph Market shared this one. It was a albino coral snake.
That's cool looking.
Yeah, that's another one why you can't trust sayings.
Oh yeah.
I saw a friend shared a picture. Someone found an albino like decay snake under their chair in their house, like in their living room.
And I'm sure it's someone that has no interest in it at all.
That's how
it always
I
works.
saw that. I'm like, why can't I find an albino decay snake? That'd be fucking awesome.
It's always the birder finding the thing you're looking for.
Speaking of birders, the next one was a picture shared. I've seen this picture before, but it's like a heron flying away as an eel has eaten its way out of the bird's stomach and is like hanging out of its like crop out of his throat.
Mm-hmm.
Just freaking weird.
Oh, this was posted today or yesterday, maybe.
The Alaskan wood frog.
About the frog that like freezes and is covered in ice crystals, but it's still alive.
And then it thaws out.
Mm-hmm. And then it's fine.
Because certain frogs are freaking weird. Like amphibians in general, axolotls. So going back to animals that should be more expensive, axolotls should be more expensive. Because Minecraft got so many axolotls killed. As soon as they put axolotls in Minecraft, every kid's like, I won't want them because they're not super expensive. Parents like, I'll buy you one. And then they die.
Gosh.
Because axolotls are just, they're an alien. They're freaking aliens.
Truth.
Oh, here's sea turtle. Did you see this one? The tracking of a leatherback sea turtle that got posted. She racked up more than 8,100 miles since April 2022.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to say that because it may not be true.
Okay.
Who posted that?
Probably Nathan. It is Nathan.
So I think Phalo, the bracelets that I have, I think they work with the Sea Turtle Conservancy. Let me check. I'm gonna fact check before I start spouting off shit. I may be wrong.
Okay. This is math related. Let me see if I can read this right. I haven't seen this one, but it says mice, so it's feeders. It ties into this. It's fucking math. All right, it says in captivity, 200 snakes eating one mouse every 5 days would require 14,600 mice over the course of a year, not discounting time and brumation. If you figure 10 weeks brumation, remove 2,800, that leaves 11,800 mice. So if you extrapolate that and place it into a vacuum, removing 200 snakes from the wild will allow those 11,800 mice to survive and reproduce. In the end, rounding up and destroying 200 rattlesnakes easily results in over 100,000 mice, rats, and other rodents being added to the population over a year's time. Yeah, it's anti-rattlesnake Roundup.
That's pretty cool. Like the numbers. And yes, so I can spout what I was going to spout a moment ago because it is true. So the picture that he posted from Sea Turtle Conservancy, they partner with Phalo, Fahlo, and it's the bracelets. I take all my jewelry off when I come home. So I don't have anything on. But it's my sea turtle bracelet that you got us for Christmas.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and so it tracks your sea turtle.
Like each bracelet is attached to a certain animal.
Yes, so they have.
You were about to say Pacific. That's an ocean.
No. They
Pacific animal.
Stop.
Could be an Atlantic animal.
They have elephants. They have sharks. They have sea turtles, penguins, lions, polar bears, and they just got giraffes. They just partnered with a giraffe organization because that's the new animal.
The turtle one or the shark one would be more interesting because they're going to travel long distances.
The turtles are pretty cool. The elephants don't do much because I'm pretty sure they're all on like protected property reserve type situations. The polar bear, we got our niece a polar bear for Christmas.
Bought our whole polar bear?
Yes, and it moves a lot.
Well, yeah, they're alive. They move.
So that's kind of cool.
This was neat. The largest turtle that ever lived is the now extinct. I'm not going to butcher that name. Just know that it's a scientific name. From the northern western interior seaway, an ancient sea which divided the North American continent. This ancient Cretaceous sea was also inhabited by mosasaurs, plesiosaurs, and large seabirds. The live weight of this thing was estimated at 4,500 pounds.
God.
It's a big fucking turtle.
That's huge.
The skeleton measures 15 feet long from beak to the end of tail. It's a big fucking turtle. So you can go help those babies escape to the water.
Comes out like a grown turtle.
Yeah, it's a whole dinner plate.
Good Lord.
But anybody wants to go check it out, there's a picture that got posted. It's a big fucking turtle.
It was posted earlier tonight too, so it's going to be towards the top.
Just could you imagine, like, if shit that was still alive now? That's why I always tell kids, like, once I teach kids about dinosaurs and all, and they're like, "What would happen if we still had T-Rex?" I was like, "We would not exist." It's like if we still had T-Rex, we're not here. We don't evolve to this point. So like all these cool reptiles, and if they still exist, we don't survive. We're not here.
This is why you don't get in the water.
Nope, not doing it now. Even the shit that's smaller now, I'm not doing it. They're faster than me and they're better in the water than me. This 15-foot turtle would have killed me. Or I would have ridden it. One of the two would have happened, or both. Both could have happened. You look tired.
I am.
Wake up.
I can't.
Okay. So, all right.
I promise it's not the podcast. I've been tired this time of the night, every night for the last like 3 weeks.
Because I go back to you're old.
I can't help it. Third grade is exhausting.
Watch Wheel of Fortune.
Give me 23 more wake ups during the week, and I will get on a worse schedule.
Get on a worse schedule?
Yeah. Like I'll stay up until 2 a.m. like you do, and then sleep till 10 a.m.
That seems like a great schedule. I don't know what you're talking about.
I know people like that have that schedule.
That's us during the summer.
Well, me during the years, I stay up till 2 and wake up at 6. So
I can't function if I don't have like 7 hours of sleep.
So you can sleep when you're dead. or you cannot. There's something else I wanted to bring up. I don't remember what it was. I blame you. All right.
Giveaway?
I think I reminded about our giveaway.
Was that what it was?
No, but I should have said it at the beginning. Anybody that's listening, if you're still listening, go check out our Facebook page and our Facebook group. Either one, it's pinned at the top. We are giving, Colossal Constrictors is giving away a free Herpstat thermostat. All you have to do is go over to our Facebook page, Find your favorite episode that we've done. We've now done 164 of them. Tell us your favorite episode. Share that episode on your Facebook. And then go give Colossal Constrictors a like on Facebook or Instagram. They're a great follow. Give them a like. And then you're entered. And then we are going to have Colossal Constrictors on the first week of May. Yeah, on the 2nd. We're going to have them on, and then we'll pull the winner. And so somebody's going to win a free thermostat for just telling us which episode you liked out of 164 episodes. And honestly, you could lie to me. You could just go pick one, throw a dart at a wall and pick one, and tell me it was your favorite, and then just share it. That's what I want. But yeah, go over there, check that out. Get you a free thermostat from Colossal Constrictors. So, Lewis, if people want to get a hold of you,
That's so weird.
what?
My coworkers, that's what they call me at school.
Me too. It is weird to say my last name.
I was like,
my first
what?
name. Yes. Lewis, if people wanted to get a hold of you, talk to you about your feeder stuff or get feeders from you, what is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can check us out on Facebook, Instagram. It's going to be Lil's Shop of Horrors on all of those. You could also message me personally on my page, Louis Batohie, and we can help you out there. Either of those. We do have a website you can check out. We don't have ordering on there yet, and we have meetups all around Texas. Let us know the areas that you're in. This weekend we'll be up in Austin, and we have a buy one get one free deal on our medium and small rats as while supplies last. So let us know. And we also ship dubias and Madagascar, all of our insects. We ship them nationwide. So,
and I will share that stuff over on our Facebook page. But it's LIL''S when you look for Lil's Shop of Horrors.
correct.
So don't type Lil's. But I'm excited.
I have that theme song stuck in my head.
From Lil Shop of Horrors. I'm excited to have you on as a sponsor. I'm excited to have you on the show. Also excited to feed out rodents. I need to feed my snakes. I got to pull rodents.
I don't know why you're telling me.
Because maybe you'll remind me. I got to
I'll
pull
try.
rodents.
I'll
Those
try to
packs will
remember.
Make it easy. Just pull them out, let them sit on the counter. Good to go.
Yep.
Who just said feed me?
Nathan Katz.
Oh.
Who's late to the party.
Welcome.
Sorry, Nathan. We're about to say goodnight.
Go play.
I'm tired.
Go play with your retics, Nathan. Thanks for coming on. Hang out a little bit. Everybody else, thanks for watching. We will be back next week with somebody.
Yes, because I remember writing down who it was.
Yeah, we'll be back with somebody.
We'll make a post about it.
Safe somewhere. We'll make just pay attention. Thanks for listening. And we'll be back. Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
1 second. Everybody can